Well, I want to welcome everybody to the first bi-monthly meeting of 2021 for Restore Georgia. My name is Brendan Spar. I'm the Executive Director of Restore Georgia. And joined with me tonight is Bill Paul. He is the Managing Director of Restore Georgia. And Beverly Cochran, she is our Secretary. So I want to welcome everybody, and we will go ahead and get started. So we have started bi-monthly meetings for the foreseeable future, probably for forever. This is probably what we need to be doing instead of the quarterly meetings. Last year, the board had voted to extend the meetings to be bi-monthly, so every 2 months they'll occur. So you'll be getting emails, and you can also check the Restore Georgia website for more information on when they're going to occur. But you can pretty much set your clock by it. It will be the third Thursday of every other month at 7 p.m. So right now, this is the third Thursday at 7 p.m. The next meeting will be on April the 15th, which is the third Thursday in April at 7 p.m. You can use the same link that you used to get in today, or you can go back to the Restore Georgia website and sign up for the April meeting. And then you'll get the email reminders and calendar invites and all that fun stuff. So you can use the same link or the website, and recordings will be made available on our YouTube channel the following week. So the YouTube channel is not ready for prime time yet. It's still being worked on, but by next week it'll launch, and it will have this meeting on it as probably its first video, and you'll receive a link to the YouTube channel next week. If you want to get more involved and have more Restore Georgia meetings and hear more information about what's going on, and you just can't wait for every other month, we have board meetings that occur the second Monday of each month at 7 p.m. And if you are a dues paying member of Restore Georgia, so you've gone on the restoregeorgia.org site, you've clicked join, and it's only $10 a year to be a member of Restore Georgia, you'll receive a link every month on the second Monday of the month to join our board meetings. And then you can really hear what's going on in the state that month, and you don't have to wait 2 months to hear it. You can kind of get the fresh news as being a member. The meeting minutes are available on our website, but the recordings are not. So if you really want to participate and hear what's going on and ask questions at the end of the meeting, you probably want to join on the Zoom meeting by being a member. So we also have another way for you to get involved, which is really exciting. This is kind of a nationwide NARSOL offering that is now coming to Georgia. And here to tell us a little bit more about Fearless Groups is Tara Gazzullo, who has recently joined up with Restore Georgia, and she will be leading our Fearless Group. So Tara, take it away.
Sorry about that. I didn't unmute. I'm so excited about being here, and I'm very appreciative for the opportunity to be able to moderate the Fearless Group. As you know, we are gearing up, and we're starting next Thursday night at 6:30 to 8. If you are interested, you can go to restoregeorgia.org/fearless and sign up, and you will then get the link to join the meeting. We are really thrilled. Julian is also a co-moderator with me, and he and I both attended a meeting in Nebraska this week via Zoom, and it was really neat to see how the meeting is run. We are going to be reaching out to treatment providers throughout the state, Department of Community Supervision, to try to get the word out. And I'm going to ask that you all ask to get the word out as well by telling people. The group is open to any registered individual or family members or support members. So we're excited.
Now, Tara, how is this different from treatment? You know, a lot of people have to go through treatment, and, you know, they're mandated by the court to go through treatment. Right. So how is Fearless different from that?
This is a safe place where people can come and just discuss what is going on. It's not mandated. It will not be open to the legal field, the legal treatment providers will not be there, probation officers will not be there, law enforcement will not be there. This will be a safe environment for people to come and to discuss what's going on with the registry, what struggles they're having, what successes they're having. It's just a group to build off of each other. It's based loosely on a 12-step model where we have certain we have a manifesto that talks about what Fearless is about. And it's just a way to build off of each other's strengths and build up each other's weaknesses.
And aren't these groups kind of designed to be in person, like kind of your 12-step type of thing where you have community?
They are. They're designed to be in person, and I'm sure that's our eventual goal, but thanks to COVID right now, this is the best way for us to start. The meeting that we attended in Nebraska, they actually did start face-to-face, and they miss it quite a bit, but what it has been able to help is there was a group of men from a federal transitional center who were allowed to come who would not have been able to come otherwise. The Federal Transitional Center set up a way for them to join via Zoom. So those men were able to come to a Fearless group, whereas otherwise in person, they may not have been able to come. The other thing too that since it's on Zoom, people can join on their phones. So those who have internet restrictions can still join. So I think that's really good that they're going to be able to have that opportunity as well.
That's really great. And we can accommodate a lot of people all over the state on Zoom.
Yes.
So if anyone wants to get the word out, we're going to have a flyer that we're going to put on the Restore Georgia website that you can print out or email to your treatment provider or anywhere that you know of people that may want to come to this. You can help us spread the word.
Brendan, also, if they'd like to reach out to me for a PDF copy of the flyer, they can email me at Tara@Restore Georgia.
That's great. So does anyone have any questions before we move on about Fearless for Tara? Great. Well, we'll also have a Q&A at the end, and this is so exciting that we're going to be bringing this to Georgia. We get the calls all the time, and Tara called me and said, do we have any kind of support groups for people on the registry in Georgia? And we didn't, and NARSOL does, so we decided that we would bring the support groups to Georgia because there's just overwhelming demand for it. Well, thanks,
Hey, Brendan.
Tara. Yeah.
Brendan, I have a question. I don't know if this is appropriate.
Sure.
The idea of having this kind of program that's available by Zoom, it occurs to me that there are no programs that are 12-step programs for people who are still serving their sentences.
Right.
And I know that this is a different issue, but what do you think about that?
May I interject?
Sure, please.
Please.
I actually work at Lee Arrendale State Prison, and they are very interested. I haven't even discussed this with Brendan yet. They are very interested in potentially bringing some sort of support group for sex offenders into the prison. The problem is I work at a female institution, but they were shocked to hear about this when I was talking to some of the counselors about it. It would have to be done a little bit differently where it was just for the people inside the institution because they don't have access to Zoom inside the prisons.
Well, actually, some of them do,
but they're not supposed to.
They're not supposed to. But
right.
Yeah, I think my understanding is that there really is no treatment in
There's
the
not.
system.
There's not.
And my son, who is in prison, and I were talking about the other day, I was telling him about my talking with the GATSA group about my thinking of having mandatory reporting law or modifying the mandatory reporting laws, getting some feedback about that. And I was telling him about that. And he said, it would be great if there were some type of treatment within the prison system. And I think sometimes they wait until the last couple of months before they do something. And typically the treatment is on the other end after you come out, but it's not, there's not a support system or a way to start talking about things while you're there.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about Fearless is it is not like organized by Restore Georgia or NARSOL. It is peer-led. So there's no reason that someone in the prison couldn't get the information mailed into them on how to start a Fearless group and start
Yes.
one on their own, kind of like an AA or something like that in the prison that they're in.
Is there anything written down about how your thoughts about it, or is it just the idea that somebody could do this?
There's an operating guide. So there are materials that, there's a, like the manifesto that Tara talked about, and there's written material that can be mailed in to the prison system on kind of a how to start one of these.
Okay, so how can I get it? How do I get that?
Just email Tara. It's tara@restoregeorgia.org, and she can give you more information. And I think that would be a wonderful idea to start something peer-based, peer-led in the dorm that he's in.
Okay, wait, so, oh, there it is. Okay, thank you. Thanks. Okay, great. I'll take a picture. Don't take it off yet.
Okay. Any other questions about Fearless? And I encourage everybody just to sign up and check it out next Thursday, even if it's not something that you want to be at every month. Just see what it's all about. And it may not be for you, but it may be for someone else. You may come across someone that you can refer to it.
Brendan,
Yes.
do I have permission to put the flyer in the chat?
Yes, you can. You should be able
Okay.
to.
All right. Yeah, no, I know how. I just want to make sure it's all right with you.
No, please share it. And then if anyone wants to print it out and post it up, most of these treatment providers have a bulletin board. We're going to be working with the treatment providers to post it at their places because this will be something that's independent of treatment. So the mandatory reporting and everything, that's not going to exist here at Fearless. In fact, we aren't going to be reporting who comes to Fearless. We're not going to be recording the meetings. Basically, what happens at Fearless stays at Fearless. Great. Well, with that, we're going to move on to Bill Paul. Bill is our managing director, and he's also over constituent services. So he manages all the phone calls and emails and letters that we get from constituents all over the state. Bill?
Well, good evening, everyone. And I'll make this brief. What we've learned I've learned the last several months is working with constituents, whether it's a returning citizen or whether it's a family member, the vast majority of the calls we receive concern the same four basic issues: housing, employment, treatment, and of course, how to get off the registry. Since our last meeting, we've been working hard to improve our ability to serve the constituents. We now have a Restore Georgia hotline that is working extremely well. We can communicate much quicker via phone, voicemail, or text message with the constituents. So it's been very effective. We attend monthly SOAR meetings, trying to stay informed with what they're up to and what they're doing and how that's moving forward. We also attend the Pardons and Parole Board meetings to get, number one, to get updated and get information, but also to meet some key people within the department. We have a restoregeorgia.org website. If you haven't visited, I've asked that you please do so. There is a frequently asked question section there that provides tremendous information on registration matters, risk classification, leveling, and restoration of rights. So it's a very informative tool. We've also begun the process, and this is a painstaking process where I'm going to solicit your help, of building our databases. Because of these same questions over and over again, like for example, housing, we need more and more information on locations and facilities where returning citizens can meet residency restrictions and find housing. It's a constant battle. Employment opportunities, places that are second chance friendly. We need information on those locations throughout the state of Georgia, not just Atlanta, not just wherever, just throughout the state, all over the state. Treatment providers is the same way. Lee just mentioned being at a GATSA meeting, and I was there as well the other day. But we recently joined ATSA and GATSA. That's the Association for Treatment of Sexual Abusers. And we're trying to build a database on treatment providers and be able to give constituents information on those individuals. So again, these databases that we're trying to build are dynamic, they're statewide, and we really need your help and your input. If you have anything in that area as far as information that deals with housing, employment, treatment, or whatever it might be, please let us know. We would want to get that information out, so when we receive a phone call or an email or whatever it is, we can respond quickly to that constituent. I had a call today that needed a response really today. And we were able to afford them and do that. But there was an individual getting out of prison on Monday and needed a place to live between now and Monday. So, that's the type of information we need to deal with. So any assistance you can give us in that area would be most greatly appreciated. Thank you. If you have any questions, please just let me know.
Thanks, Bill. And we are trying to grow our housing database. So if you know of any apartment complexes or even extended stays or anywhere that is proximity safe and has welcomes people on the registry, we want to know about them. We're kind of combing the registry right now to find those places where people are registering their addresses, and if someone wants to move to a particular county, we're asking them to check out a few of these places that are on our list. But we always want to hear from you and know where people are working, where people are living. It's always helpful.
Yeah, also just in passing, just to let you know, we are working with other organizations as well. We find in the state of Georgia there are multiple organizations that can help us help our constituents, and that's what we are in fact doing. We're referring to these people to others. We're gathering information from them to be able to address and answer the questions that we're being faced with.
And Patricia Bennett, for those that are on the phone, Patricia Bennett has posted something in the chat saying that there's a housing for all felonies. It's Mr. Moore. And so the phone number for that is 770-256-1783, and housing for all felonies. So I like that name. And that will, of course, be available on the recording that you can watch on YouTube if you missed it. And Bill mentioned that he joins the SORB meetings, and he joins GATSA and ATSA meetings, as well as Bill attends the parole board hearings. And Bill, you were at the last parole board hearing. Can you kind of tell us how that went?
Well, I learned a lot. And the other thing it did, I was able to meet a number of individuals who are key within that system. And at least we now have contacts and faces to go with names and a door open to us. The other thing that's happening, and I'm seeing it repeatedly, is the name Restore Georgia is getting out into this world that we're living in. We're being recognized for what we're doing. In fact, the last two SORB meetings, I was the only member that actually was attending those meetings, and that's recognized throughout the organization. So, but the Pardon Parole meeting was extremely informative, and we'll continue to be active and participate in those events.
Yeah, it's very important that the agencies see us as an adversary and not, an ally and not an adversary. That they. That they're not against us, because I have conversations with district attorneys around the state. I met with one district attorney's office here in Gwinnett County a few weeks ago, and the tone of our first meeting was kind of standoffish. They were like, well, you're the enemy. This issue is we're supposed to be tough on you guys, and we're trying to make it where they understand that we're trying to help people restore their lives back into society. And we need the district attorney's help. We need the parole board's help. We need everyone's help. So that kind of brings us to the next area of constituent services. We are looking to meet with agencies all around the state. So sheriff's offices and district attorney's offices. It's kind of a slow roll right now. We have started in Gwinnett, and we're going to be moving out to some of the other metro areas. We've got our eyes on Cobb County because there was some issues there last year. We have heard from some constituents that is still going on in Cobb County, that the issues that we talked about with the sheriff's office asking registrants to do some things that aren't required by law, mainly give your work schedule and things like that. So we are continuing to monitor that, and we're looking to schedule a meeting with the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. They have a brand new sheriff there. and we're looking to bridge those connections in every county that we can. There's like 156 counties, I believe, in Georgia, and we're going to tackle them starting with the largest ones. And the idea is if we get the largest ones to cooperate with Restore Georgia and see that we're okay, the smaller ones will kind of follow the leaders in that. So we're starting with Gwinnett and Fulton and Cobb, and we'll branch out to some of the others. And if anyone has a personal relationship with their sheriff's office or their district attorney, we'd love to work with you to make that meeting happen. Any questions about constituent services? And we're going to have a general Q&A at the end. All right, moving on to social media. We have a new board member as of last year, Walisha Wilson. She comes to us from New Life Second Chance Outreach and Southern Center for Human Rights. And she's also now a board member of Restore Georgia. Walisha couldn't be with us tonight, but she handles all of our social media for Restore Georgia. And she has created a Facebook page, a Instagram page, a LinkedIn page, and a Twitter page for Restore Georgia. You can find them all by typing in "We Are Restore GA." So if you're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter, "We Are Restore GA" is where you want to go. And you'll find out about events that Restore Georgia is co-hosting, namely the Justice Reform Partnership events. So Justice Reform Partnership is a group of advocates in Georgia, so ACLU and Southern Center, Georgia Justice Project, some really big names, and now Restore Georgia. And they host a Talk Justice Tuesday series every Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. And they're re-recorded and put onto the Facebook page of the Justice Reform Partnership. But Restore Georgia is co-hosting one on reentry on March the 9th. So you can go to our We Are Restore Georgia Facebook page and see about that reentry talk. We're going to be focusing on the registry. I'm going to be giving a talk on Registry 101, kind of what does it mean to be on the registry, what are the different levels, which I'll get into in a minute, that is causing some confusion among lawmakers. They don't understand the registry. They just have it in their head that the registry's bad and it's full of bad people. But there's a lot of education that we're hoping that with these Talk Justice Tuesday series, we'll be able to help inform the community on what exactly it means to be on the registry and what the different levels actually mean. That's We Are Restore GA on all the socials. All right, so moving forward, we are going to go into our legislative update. And we're going to start with some bills that we oppose. These are the bad bills. And I'm going to start with a bill that you probably got an email about late this afternoon. This one, I really didn't think this one would move as quick as it did. I thought the next bill I'm going to talk about would move faster. But this is House Bill 347. And what this would do is it would require anyone on the registry that's classified as a level 1 or is not classified to wait 10 years after they've completed all prison, parole, and supervised release before they're able to petition for removal from the registry or employment residency restrictions. So your proximity restrictions, you have to wait 10 years with this bill. Right now, as soon as you're done your probation, as soon as you're off paper, you can ask the court to level you. The court has to level you, or the SORB has to level you within 90 days, and then you can petition to come off of the registry. It's, quick, and they want to have it 10 years after. They want a waiting period, a cooling off period of 10 years after the sentence with 347. It's sponsored by Representative Gullett out of Dallas. And right now, today, it got its hearing. There was some opposition. There was a lot of support. The Paulding County Sheriff's Office and a Paulding County Assistant District Attorney gave support, which it's in their best interest for this to pass because the Sheriff's Office gets money for supervising people on the registry, and going out and residency checks and everything. So they want that list to be as big as possible because they get as much money as possible. So no brainer that they went and testified for it. And then the ADA testified for it for pretty much the same reason. It's his livelihood. They gave some incorrect information in their hearing. They said that the recidivism rate is super high, and They think that the registry is not a risk tool. It's based on your crime. And so they were saying, well, the SORB isn't really doing their job by leveling people. I mean, look, we've got people with aggravated charges and some horrendous charges as level ones. Well, you're misinterpreting what the SORB's role is and what the registry's role is. It's assigning risk. Someone could have what society feels as a terrible crime and have been rehabilitated from that crime and may not have even committed the crime. You don't know. But what SORB does is they look at the entire circumstances around what happened and they assigned a risk. So that's why 10 years, one size fits all, it's not right. 10 years is not necessary for most people, and anyone on a level one should be awarded the judge's discretion. The big deal here is this would take away the judge's discretion. Something else that was mentioned in the hearing was that, well, judges are feeling just because that you're qualified to come off, we need to let you off the registry. But that's not the case at all. Judges still have the power to say no. District attorneys still have the power to fight it. So if somebody really doesn't want you off the registry, they can say no and oppose it. And if everything goes well and you prove that you should be off the registry, then right now you can come off the same month that you come off of paper if you have a compelling argument. Probably in your best interest to wait a year or two and not try to rush into it to kind of prove and show, but you shouldn't have to wait 10 years. So this is one, right now it sits in rules, and a little legislative 101 on what that means. There is a group of about 30 people in the Rules Committee, and they vet these bills. So just because it makes it out of committee doesn't mean it's ready for prime time. So it's got to be argued and pass the smell test in rules. And everybody in rules needs to agree that, okay, this is ready, this is good, we need to put this forward, and it needs to go to a vote by the entire House. So it can still be stopped in rules. So the email that you got today would have had all the rules members on it. And if one of those happens to be in the city that you live in, one of the rules members, I really encourage you to email them and tell them that you live in their district and why this would impact you and why this is so bad of a bill. And even if you don't have a representative that's on the Rules Committee, I would encourage you to just email as many or call as many as you feel like and let them know why this is so bad, because it takes the judge's discretion away. Let judges be judges and judge the person. If they feel that the person needs to come off the registry, so be it. Let judges be judges. So do we have any questions about 347 before I move on?
I just have a comment.
Yeah.
Which is that the trend in Georgia, more likely than most other states in the country, is that the culture is afraid and ignorant. So there's lots of education that's required.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It is ignorance. In fact, in the email that you got today, you had the opportunity to watch the hearing back. And one of the questions the representative said is, I don't know what SORB does. I don't know what these levels are. I don't know what it means. And they're fear mongering, saying, well, these aggravated charges are level 1. SORB's not doing it right. Those should be level 2s or 3s. So we shouldn't let these people out. It's education, it's ignorance. I don't know if it's so much fear, it's just maybe fear of the unknown. We don't know enough about it, so we're scared of it. This one is moving quickly. It will probably come up to a full House vote next week. So I really encourage you to contact your lawmakers Friday or Monday and let them know that this one's coming. And this would also put Georgia in line with other states and set Georgia back to where other states are with criminal justice reform. One thing that was argued in the committee hearing was other states have very strict registry removal laws. Some states you have to wait 10 years, some states you have to wait 25, some states you can't come off at all. Why is Georgia so lax when it comes to registry removal? Well, that's because we're doing it right. It still has some room for improvement, but I think the path to registry removal here in Georgia is one of the best in the nation. And it sure can be improved, but at least there's a pathway. Once you come off paper, if you're a level 1, you don't have to wait. You can just, and if you get early termination of probation, if you go and file, 2 or 3 years in and want early termination, you can file at the same time to come off the registry. If the judge wants it, if you've got a really compelling argument and you don't want to wait, you could do it all one-stop shopping here and you don't have to wait. But this is a solution looking for a problem, I think. They think that all these people, a lot of people are committing new crimes. They think that there's a lot of recidivism. It's a solution looking for a problem. And so Restore Georgia will be fighting this one and hope it doesn't go any further. So that's 347. We also have 194. And 194 is going to be very familiar to you if you've been on the Restore Georgia calls in the past year. 194 is just House Bill 720 from last year under a different number. At the end of the year, they had to scrap all the bills because bills are only good for 2 years. So 720 had to go, and it's been reintroduced this year as 194. And what this would be is any conviction that's a felony, that's your second conviction of a sexual offense, you're going to have to be on probation for life. And the really scary thing about this that they didn't do last year that I guess they're trying to sneak in, they have, for electronic monitoring, taken off the word sexually dangerous predator and put the word sexual offender. So for the lifetime monitoring. So if you have a second conviction of a sexual offense that's not from like stacking charges or anything, this is a new charge, what this bill would do is it would not only slap probation for life on you, it would slap an ankle monitor on you for life, even if you're at level 1, even if you're not leveled. You got that ankle monitor for life now just because it's your second conviction of a sexual offense. So that one is very scary. It's also got the clause that law enforcement can post signs in the front of your residence on the day before and the day of Halloween. Right now, NARSOL has challenged that and has been very successful and has stopped sheriffs from doing that. Well, the Sheriff's Association says, well, let's go ahead and make a law so we can do it. Just because it's a law doesn't mean it's constitutional. You can pass this law and we will fight it up to the Supreme Court and rule it unconstitutional if we have to. But just because it's a law doesn't mean it's constitutional. The ankle monitor, though, that is a way to get around constitutionality because you can impose ankle monitors as a sentence. And what they're saying is your sentence will never end. The big problem with that is some of these crimes have a max cap on their sentencing of 10, 20, 30 years. They don't have a lifetime cap. So by putting a lifetime requirement on a sentence that's supposed to end in 10 years that has no requirement after 10, that's a big problem constitutionally. You can't impose a greater sentence than required by law. And life is life. A judge could revoke your probation for the remainder of your life and it becomes a life sentence. So if the crime doesn't call for it, then this is going to be thrown out in the courts. This one is introduced by the same guy as last year, Stephen Sains out of Woodbine. It is actually in the House Judiciary Non-Civil. I expect it to come up to a committee meeting next week, so this one may be moving as well. Any questions about 194? Okay, that's all the bad stuff. So let's get into some good bills that we support, actually. There is a bill that just passed out of committee today. It's Senate Bill 105, and it would be for any conviction that's your first conviction, and this includes sexual offenses, any first conviction where you were sentenced to no more than 1 year of prison time, followed by any kind of probation. So those sentences that are like PDC sentences that are maybe 1 year of prison and 10-1 or something like that. Anything that's less than a year, your first conviction, what will happen is after 24 months, DCS, Department of Community Supervision, will be required to give a report to the court stating that they recommend this person for early termination of probation. And unless there's been a probation violation in the last 24 months, that will generally happen. This law calls for DCS to recommend probation be terminated after 24 months, so long as no violations occurred during that time. It's not automatic, but it's kind of automatic. The burden then, basically they file an order with the court saying, we order that this person come off of probation. The DA then, in the court of your conviction, has 30 days to request a hearing. And if the DA falls asleep at the wheel and doesn't see this order come through, it's automatically granted. You come off of probation. This actually passed out of committee and is going to be going to the Rules Committee in the Senate later this week and next week, where it will then go up to a Senate vote. It did have a lot of support because it still gives the DA the power to say no. If the DA is vigilant and watching these orders come through, the DA can still request a hearing to deny that. But right now there is a pathway for early termination of probation for all offenses. This is very refreshing that there's no except for in there. It's everybody qualifies for this one. Any questions about 105? Kind of in the same light as emailing your representatives to say that you are against 347, I would encourage you to email your senators to say that you are for 105, because this one will be coming up to a Senate vote. And to find out who your senator is, you can go to restoregeorgia.org and click on resources, and it says find your legislator. You type in your address and it'll give you the email address and phone number of your senator and your representative. It says it kind of weird. Your senator is your upper chamber person, and your representative will be the lower chamber. So when you see upper and lower, it doesn't say Senate and representative. And there's the link Dan has just posted in the chat. That's the same link on the website. So if you want to click on that and just write down who your senator and who your representative is, it's always a good idea to know who they are, because they listen to you. Last year with 720, they were quoting talking points that we had emailed out from Restore Georgia on the floor of the House. Our constituents emailed their representatives, and the representatives stood up and said, hey, what about this? What about this recidivism rate that I'm hearing about? That's low. We shouldn't even be worried about this. So they actually listen to your emails. They read your emails, and it makes a difference, especially if a lot of people are emailing them. If they keep hearing the same song, they're going to listen. So I encourage everybody to email their senator about 105. All right, so moving on, we have got House Bill 192. And this is a case where we are aligning with SORB, and we're allies with the review board. We want them to be the best review board that they possibly can, and that we want them to help us or help our constituents get off of the registry. And so what 192 would do is it would rename the review board. Right now it's called the Sexual Offender Registration Review Board. And what this would do is it would change the name to the Risk Review Board. And we feel at Restore Georgia that that's a positive step, because people right now, I believe, think that this is a list of bad people. These are irredeemable, deplorable people. It's a registry that you put bad people on. What this would do is it would change the name of the registry to the Risk Review. And we would then argue that these are people that society feels, or the review board feels at this point in time, are a risk, but they're not always a risk. Eventually, with rehabilitation and time, people become less and less of a risk until they're no longer a risk. So think of your credit score, think of insurance rates. You may get into an accident and then your insurance goes way up for 5 years, 3 years, or whatever, but not for the rest of your life. Eventually, with no accidents, your insurance goes down because you're less of a risk. And then insurance companies don't even care anymore. You get the good rates. So we want to approach it the same way with the Risk Review Board and say, we're not registering people, we're registering risk, and risk is finite. It's not infinite. People will always have the label of the crime that they committed unless it's expunged, but they will not always have the same risk. So we think this is a step in the right direction. We support 192. Oddly enough, it's our good friend Stephen Sains who introduced 194. There is good and bad, but the review board has been arguing for this for years. They want to be renamed, and I think it's a good thing. It's in the House Judiciary Non-Civil. Who knows if it's going to go anywhere, because all this does is rename the board. I put in here that it requires GBI to only provide criminal history. Right now, today, the board can ask GBI to do their bidding. They can say, go get prison records. We want to know about DRs. The GBI has to comply and go fetch it for them. They can ask for the GBI to go conduct interviews of neighbors, of victims, of anything that the board wants, and the GBI has to comply. What this would do is only require the GBI to pull the GCIC and give them the criminal record information. They wouldn't have to be do the bidding of SORB. That would kind of be on SORB or on no one to go and fetch these extra records. So we feel it's a good thing to limit SORB, limit the GBI, and rename SORB. Any questions about 192? All right, moving on is 495. This would also rename the registration review board, or the registration review board to the risk review board. So I guess they're trying again. The thing with this one though is it's in a different committee. So the last one was in House Judiciary Non-Civil. This one is in House Public Safety and Homeland Security. So I guess they're really adamant, SORB is, about we want to get our name changed. So they're throwing as many bills with the same language at different committees, hoping it gets through. So maybe, I mean, this does the exact same thing as the last one. It's introduced by a different sponsor, Clint Crow out of Jackson, but they're just really hoping that one of these gets through. And we are always meeting with our lawmakers. Here's a picture of me with my lawmaker, Representative Kennard out of Lawrenceville. I met with him earlier this week. And if you'll notice here, right by his laptop, there is our numbers card with the different statistics here about people on the registry, recidivism rates, and the number of people basically that are impacted by this, the percentage that are juveniles. Had a good meeting with Representative Kennard on Monday, let him know that 194 and 347 were on their way. And he let me know that I should text him as soon as it hits the floor so that he can jump up and say something about it. If you'll recall, last year with 194, Representative Kennard did speak out against that bill, and he understands that that there is no need for these ankle monitors or lifetime probation. The Sheriff's Department does a really good job of watching people and checking on people, sometimes overly checking on people. There's no need to put an ankle monitor on someone for the rest of their life at that person's expense, by the way. So he's an ally in our fight, and I had the pleasure of meeting with him on Monday, and I encourage everyone to meet with their lawmaker. It just so happened Monday was a holiday. They weren't at the Capitol, so I could meet with him at his office. And even if you're on the registry, even if you're on probation, you still live in their district. Your family can still vote for them. One day you will be able to vote for them if you're still on probation. If you're off of probation, you should be registered to vote, because people like Representative Kennard, they call the shots up there. Their vote matters. And if you can vote for them and you're eligible to vote, that really makes a difference. But even if you're not, don't be afraid to ask for a meeting with your lawmaker, because you live in their district, you shop in their district, you pay taxes in their district. They will listen to you and they will meet with you. You don't have to be the executive director of an organization. You just live in their district and they'll meet with you. All right, so if there's any other questions about any of these bills that we talked about, or any bills that you may have a question about that we didn't talk about, open floor for legislation right now before we move on. Cool. Well, hearing none, we're going to move into kind of a last part of the meeting before we go, or should it be general Q&A? I think it was supposed to be, yeah, right now it's supposed to be general Q&A before we get to the Board of Directors elections. Let's just open it up for, let's do about 10 minutes of general Q&A, just what's on everyone's mind, and then we'll go into the Board of Directors elections. So feel free to unmute yourself, and just anything's fair game now, anything to do with the registry or anything to do with sexual offenses. So Mr. Moore has said in the chat, and I'm going to read this for people that are on the phone. He says, this is Mr. Moore with Housing for All Felons. He'd like to get more education materials regarding laws for sexual offenders. All of his housing that he provides meets the 1,000-foot restrictions by law. So that's amazing. And Mr. Moore, I would direct you to our website, restoregeorgia.org. There's a lot of information, like Bill said, under our frequently asked questions. And also you can email us info, I'm going to put that in the chat, info@restoregeorgia.org. And that goes to all of our board members, and one of us will reply to you with more information. One thing I've noticed is that the representatives are very ill-informed, and you'll see that whenever you watch back the live stream of today's hearing on 347. They don't understand what the registry is all about, what the leveling are, why people get put on the registry, how long they stay on the registry. So that's one thing Restore Georgia is going to work on, is a packet of materials that we can hand out to our legislators and that you can take with you in your meeting to your legislators. And I think that they need to be more informed. And it's just ignorance. It's not that they're hating on people on the registry. They just don't understand the issue. And I think that's where we come in. That's our job to provide that information. So we're working on putting a packet together. Well, Tara, you'll be interested to read in the chat that Mr. Moore has only men's beds available at this time. However, he's open to establishing female homes. So I know that your work is with the female prison, and you see a lot of people coming out that may not have residency. And you're on mute.
You're muted.
There are only 3 sex offender beds for women in the state of Georgia. 3, not 3 facilities, 3 beds
Wow.
for women in the state of Georgia that is Thor approved, which is Thor is the registry of housing that the Department of Corrections has. And what's good about that is that those places on the Thor registry are already approved by DCS. So it makes the probation and the parole, it makes their tentative parole month come up faster because the houses are already approved. But I just want to stress 3 beds, 3 beds, that's it.
Wow.
I have a young lady right now who is 3 years past being able to go home because she has nowhere to go.
That's incredible. And I'll offer this. We work in Gwinnett County with the Department of Community Affairs, and what they have is a program called Reentry Partnership Housing. And I'm going to paste a link in the chat right now where you can find some more information about Reentry Partnership Housing. And if anyone out there has their own residence and they want to rent a room in their residence, what Reentry Partnership Housing would do is it would pay you a stipend to have these people, when they come out of prison, go into your home and rent a room in your home. You could actually open up your own facility. You don't have to have a organization. You can be a sole proprietor of your home, and you can then go to the Reentry Partnership Housing and apply. So that's a website there. There are very few providers actually that are providing for reentry partnership housing, but this is a good way. I think it offers up to 6 months of vouchers for someone that is coming out of prison. So it's a great way for you to open up your house, make a little bit of extra money, and help out people that are coming out of the prison system that are in need of housing.
Very good.
So any other questions or thoughts about issues? I know that Cobb County has been our kind of focus point on sheriffs going crazy, and they're knocking on doors every 3 months. They're asking people for their work schedules. Has anyone else heard anything in their counties, or are they behaving because of COVID?
Brendan, this is Kevin Green.
Okay.
I have an interesting
because
We
You know,
can't
the
hear you,
sheriff will come
Kevin.
by and knock on the door
There you go.
during normal work hours.
Mm-hmm.
So you would not expect that anybody would be home. And at some point, they come and make your visits, 2 or 3, 4 times. At some point, they're going to issue a warrant for arrest because they haven't been able to verify the address. So, and there is no way for the sheriff to actually, take a note of what your work schedule is. It's kind of interesting that Cobb County is asking for this information and could use it in a positive way. So by going by and checking your address when you're not at work rather than when you're at work. But it's just kind of interesting. So I thought it was something to comment on.
Yeah, and that's the goal. I think that's the intended goal of Cobb County is they're tired of missing people. It's a waste of resources by keeping going out there. I know in other counties, they call ahead. They say, hey, are you home? And that's kind of the courtesy of, but I guess police just don't like calling ahead and letting you know that they're coming. But that's the intended goal. Where it's hurting people, though, is shift workers. So if you work a fast food job, or you're a kind of contract employee, like maybe a sign spinner that maybe works occasional hours, and just off and on, that's going to hurt you because you don't really know consistently what your hours are going to be. And for them to require you to put it down, well, I'm Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Sometime 8 to 5, I'm going to work. I don't know if it's going to be every day of the week, if it's going to be some days. I'm part-time, I'm occasional, I'm seasonal, or whatever. That's not good enough for Cobb County. They want them to call in every time it changes and update it with them. Well, you may not know, you may get called in. Hey, we're short a person. We need you to come in today. Well, now you got to notify the sheriff's office before you go in because your work schedule changed. So it can hurt and it can help. It's one of those that it's a good tool for the sheriff's office to have, but I wouldn't mandate it. I wouldn't say it's required because it could, some people could just say, look, I don't know. It changes. I can tell you that this restaurant closes at 10. So the latest I'll ever work is 10. And if you come out at 11, that'll be fine. But the earliest I'll ever go in is 9. So, if you want to come out at 8 or 7, I won't be at work. Or, this is a residence check, so they have to come out to the house. But if it was an employment check or anything else, or they just wanted to update your verification, they could come out and see you. The big issue here is by law. By law, all the sheriff's office has to do is verify your initial residence. Whenever you first move into that dwelling, that apartment or that home, they verify it once. Is what you told us correct? When that changes, they verify it again. Okay, I moved to another apartment. I moved to another house. Okay, we're going to verify that you actually did move there. That should be it. By law, that's all they have to do. This whole business of coming out every 3 months, every 6 months, every year, there's no reason to do that. So that's where we're kind of fighting in Cobb. They're going overboard. They're coming out every 3 months. That's a waste of community resources, and that's also a harassment and a hassle for people on the registry that's unwarranted. Are you still here? Are you still living there? Okay, great. And in Cobb County, we had a case where a roommate was upset with someone that was living there, and the police came out and said, hey, are they still living here? The roommate said, no, they moved out 6 months ago. I don't know where they are. And so they issued a warrant for their arrest because the roommate said they're not living there anymore and they couldn't make contact with them. So that actually presents issues with coming out so often. You may think that, well, they don't live there because I never see them, but you're not even supposed to go out and see them.
Hello?
Yeah, go
Can you
ahead.
hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, this is Mr. Moore with Housing for All Felons.
Hey, Mr. Moore.
I've been listening all, for the call, which is a great call. I am seeking more information. I did send you an email on the email address that you provided. So I'm hoping to, hear back from y'all pretty soon. But I am a true advocate for housing. Now, although I only do males at the moment, I am RPH certified in one of my homes in Stone Mountain. I have a total of 19 beds at the moment. And they're all full, which is great. They're all full, and I'm actually acquiring some additional housing. But just so that you will know, when it comes down to housing, not all counties are requiring you to be a Thor or Thor approved or RPH certified in order to receive housing for individuals who are paroling out from the penal system. It is preferred, however, is not required, is not mandatory. And I'm just speaking from experience because I have homes that are not RPH and Thor approved that I have individual sex offenders staying at. that have been approved by DCS.
So, Mr. Moore, how would one get in touch with you if they wanted to check for availability of beds, or like if Tara had people that she wanted to refer to you? How would people that are listening today get in touch?
Ms. Bennett from Empowering Men and Women on the Move,
Mhm.
she put my number in the chat for me because she knows I'm actually driving right now. But she put my number in there, Housing for All Felons, and she put my phone number, the 770-256-1783. It's in the chat box.
I see it.
That is my direct cell phone number. You can reach me 24/7. Okay.
Trayvon,
I'm not.
this is Tara. We have forensic peer mentors that work at several of the males facilities. Be expecting to hear from them because I'm passing your number on tonight to them. But I wanted to just let everybody know, sometimes when we say acronyms, people don't understand what it is. RPH stands for Residential Problematic Housing, and is a distinction that someone who is incarcerated gets if they're a certain time past their TPM, which is tentative parole month, that they go on a list called RPH, Residential Problematic Housing. In other words, they're having a hard time finding housing. And in our facility, probably 75% of the people on the RPH list are sex offenders. And again, as Mr. Moore said, there's a lot of housing for men, there's not for women. And I understand the reason why it's hard for women is because so much of the time when a woman is released from prison, she wants to rebuild a relationship with her children. And if you have a facility where children are allowed, then a sex offender who can't be around children. So that comes into play with when you provide female housing. So that's the big issue with female housing.
Yes, and then also on the same token, for those individuals who don't care to work as much, they try to sneak other males into the home, and
Exactly.
which is not good, So my rules at my website is housingforallfelons.com. It's the name of the company, housingforallfelons.com. That's my website. It has my house rules on there. It has the wraparound services which I offer, which is quite extensive. And I can tell you that the homes that I offer are in middle to luxury style communities. Those are the homes that I'm offering. And the reason for that is so that individuals who are coming home, they are very proud to come to a place that could possibly be even better than where they came from before they actually went in. And a lot of my clients, a lot of my male clients tell me all the time, they say, they've heard horror stories of how these programs are, being dirty and subpar conditions and so on and so forth. But when they pull up or pull into the neighborhood where my homes are located, they get excited. They get a new sense of, oh my gosh, I can really do this. You see? And I took a group of my guys out today to get registered at the sheriff's department and at the probation office, and they were telling me about how they really enjoyed the place that they were staying, and they've only been there a few days, and they're like, there's nothing that they would have expected in a million years. They said, I really feel good about it. It's giving me a lot of hope that I'm coming home to a place like such as yours, this program. And they're telling me, I'm definitely going to refer all my friends that I've made while incarcerated that's looking to get out to your location.
That's so good. Thank you for the work that you do, Mr. Moore. And we'll probably be inviting you to one of our Fearless groups to talk to the people and the families at the group and let them know more about your services.
Oh, I'll be more than happy. You just give me a date and time and I'll clear my schedule to make it happen. I don't mind actually coming to speak and talk to individuals about my program and what I do. And one of the things that I actually do at this point is I offer in-house services for the psychosexual therapy that's required of them on a weekly basis. Housing for All Felons pays for their weekly sessions. We pay for their weekly sessions and it's done on site or virtually. Let's say it's done virtually. And then we also pay for one of their polygraph tests, which they have to take 2 a year. We pay for one of their polygraph tests after they've been in our program for at least a year. We actually pay for one of their polygraph tests is done in-house at the location, because I feel as if they're actually taking a polygraph test, they should be in a place that they feel most comfortable in being.
That's amazing. Oh, wow. Never even knew that this service existed, so we need to get the word out. This is so awesome.
We will be in touch.
Yes.
Please do, because I'm looking for more education on the requirements and the restrictions and what they can and cannot do, because I am fully aware that the POs are not familiar with the laws itself that governs sex offenders, because that is my specialty. For my housing, that's my specialty. And it's just that even though I can't house all felons, such as the name denotes, but my specialty is sex offenders, and I've been housing them for over 3 years now. And it's been very interesting. And I love learning more and more about the clientele and the laws that govern them.
That's so good. And when we talk to the agencies who actually do talk to us and meet with us privately, they say privately that this is a big issue. You know, they'll probably never say it in a public meeting or anything, but the people over at DCA are saying that we need more RPH housing for people on the registry, that there just aren't enough beds, like Tara was saying, for people on the registry. So they want to work with people like you, Mr. Moore, and I feel that we can help bridge that connection.
Oh, yes. Now, I'm familiar, you know, like I said, I am a certified RPH provider as well, with Tammy Herring and so on and so forth.
Great.
So I'm already familiar with them. Actually, I have one of my homes, but my other 2 homes are not. And it's certain counties don't require it, that you be RPH or Thor in order to house sex offenders. So as long as you get the sheriffs on board and the chief at DCS, and you're able to offer a program, it's not required according to policy.
That's great.
Their policy that they have.
Well, thanks again for joining us, and we'll probably be seeing you at a Fearless meeting coming up soon.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right, we're kind of going over time, but I guess if anyone has anything else to add, we can take it real quick, or we can just move right into the elections.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard.
Hey, Richard.
I'm currently at the LaGrange Transition Facility.
Oh, welcome.
And I was just kind of listening in on what was going on here. I just try to figure out, what this group is all about and try to understand. Just a little background on what's going on for me is I currently have signed a lease for a house in a nearby town, Manchester. So I will be getting out hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I'm waiting for the parole board to actually give me that release date. So it's been 2 weeks since I signed that release, and it's been sent on to Atlanta. So I'm just kind of waiting on that. So I don't need help in housing, but I can say is I've been at this facility about a year, and it is extremely difficult for sex offenders to find housing across the state. We got people here who are just trying to get anything, anywhere, and it is so difficult to find. So that housing for all felonies, I'm grateful to hear about that. I've seen one called Housing for All Felons, and that went nowhere on the internet. So I'm going to go ahead and share the Housing for All Felonies with the people that we have here. I don't know how many people know this, but I just want to point out that there's only 4 transition centers in Georgia that take sex offenders. And so it's very difficult for us to get into a transition center, let alone get out and into the general public. So I'm very, very grateful and thankful that I have mine. So I have sorry for all that, but the question I do have, and I'm not sure if anybody here can answer this, it's when I was sentenced, part of my special conditions of probation, the judge had signed every single condition. So I don't know if that's something that they can do or something they're allowed to do. Someone told me that they're only allowed to give you a special condition based on the crime or conditions of the crime. So my question is that true that they can only do that, or are they just allowed to basically assign anything?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Richard, and congratulations on all that. That's amazing, and do let us know whenever. Send us an email whenever you're at your new place, and we'd love to celebrate with you. So
I will definitely go ahead and do that.
Yep. So to answer your question, there is a form. It is a form that's by the clerk of courts of superior courts, called the Administrative Office of the Courts. They have this form that's special conditions of sex offender probation, and it's got probably 20 or 25 different conditions on it, and it is basically these are the boilerplate special conditions that could apply in any case. And what's supposed to happen, again, like the law in Cobb and everything else, they're not following it correctly. What's supposed to happen is the judge is supposed to look at that boilerplate and apply it individually to say, okay, you have a problem driving, you're picking up people when you're driving, so we're going to say that you can't drive alone. So that's one of the conditions. Boom, we're going to put that on you. Some courts are, I don't know if the word is lazy, I don't know if the word is just, they just don't care. They're putting that whole 25 special conditions down there and just letting it go, letting it ride. Now, a good attorney, a vigilant attorney, will negotiate that list as they're negotiating a plea, or they won't have you sign the document. They can strike through things at sentencing, but a public defender probably won't.
Okay, yes, I did have a public defender, and I'm just going to express that I'm unhappy with the service once I understood the service he was supposed to provide. And I found very funny is of those special conditions, my judge also initialed the blank line, the special condition that is no condition.
Oh, sorry.
And I don't please go ahead and laugh, because I laughed myself when I realized what had happened. Is he was not looking and not paying attention and sentenced me to nothing on top of that.
Yeah.
So it just pointed out that he was not paying attention.
The good news on that is that you can get judicial relief from any condition. Any special condition can be forgiven if you go to the court. We've had constituents that have argued the shall never drive alone thing is costing them. They can't go to work, they can't go to treatment because the probation officer is saying, look, if I see you in a car by yourself, then that's it, you're getting violated. And they've gone back to court and gotten that one removed. There's also a provision about no 900 numbers. I'm sure you've seen that one in there. And we have found that the last 900 number bit the dust, I think in 2006 or something like that. Verizon was still issuing 900 numbers, but stopped in like 2006. So to have that condition in there, there's also one about you won't pick up hitchhikers, which I don't think with Uber and everything else, I don't really think anybody's hitchhiking anymore. So all those, if you go to the judge and you make a compelling argument, we've even seen people do that by a letter. So you don't have to get a attorney or anything like that. You can write a letter to the court and say, here's the issue I'm having. I would recommend that you ask for a lot of them removed. Like we've had some people that ask for every one of them or a dozen of them removed. I would cherry pick the ones that are causing you the most grief and pick it out maybe one at a time.
Okay. And do I have to do that in my court of conviction or in the county that I'm currently living in?
Yeah, I would consult an attorney in the county that you're living in. We really can't give legal advice, but my idea of the way it works is it's the county of conviction. So let's say that you're living in Cobb, but you were sentenced out of Savannah, you'd have to go back to Savannah. Because the way to understand it is you're being babysitted by the county that you're living in. The county that you were convicted in ultimately holds the cards. If you get violated, you're getting sent back to the county that you were convicted in.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to let you go. But I just find it funny that I have that driving restriction because I have them all. And yet the only place I could get is 40 minutes away from where I work. And I'm not going to be able to carpool with anybody from work where I'm going. So I believe I'm going to have to talk to the probation officer as soon as I get out and see, is this a lenient for getting to work while I deal with the situation? I'm going to go ahead and take care of all that. But thank you for the advice to talk to an attorney in my county. I will definitely do that. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yep, and we are actually working on that form. We're working with the Administrative Office of the Courts to change that form and strike both the 900 numbers off of that and the never drive alone. We're working with GACTL, which is the Georgia Association for Criminal Defense Lawyers. They have sent a very eloquent letter to the Administrative Office of the Courts. The problem is that that body only meets quarterly. They didn't take it up in their fourth quarter meeting, so we're hoping in the first or second quarter they'll take up this issue and just remove that because it's actually not doing any good, this never drive alone thing. It's actually hurting people. Well, the last thing we've got for tonight is kind of a formality, but we do by bylaws have to elect board of directors the first quarter meeting of every year. And we're going to go ahead and put the nominees up here, which are the same that have been before. If anyone is interested in running against any of these names, what you would have to do is you'd have to be a Restore Georgia member, and then you could nominate yourself or have someone nominate you, and then you could run against someone up there. We're hoping that in the future we will have more Restore Georgia members and we will have more active people that want to become involved, because we can't do it forever. You know, this board can't exist forever. We'd like to get some new ideas and some fresh ideas in it. But unless there's any opposition, we are all very grateful to stay on as your leaders here in this organization for another year. So I'm not hearing anything. We're going to go ahead and move forward then with, no opposition is no is good on this one. So I will stay on as your executive director. Bill Paul will be your managing director. The treasurer will be Andy Stein, and secretary Beverly Cochran. And that will remain in place until the fourth quarter meeting of the year, where we will open up new nominations. So in probably our last meeting of the year of this year, we'll open up nominations again. And then the elections will be held next February, January timeframe. So I encourage everybody to check out restoregeorgia.org in closing, and go and join, become a member. It's only $10 a year, and really what that $10 a year goes for is printed materials that we can give to our lawmakers. It's parking for me to go down to the Capitol and meet with the lawmakers and testify before the Senate. It's all the stuff that you don't have to do. You don't have to go down and talk to people at the legislature. We'll handle that. You don't have to mail these things out to people. We'll do that. So that $10, that really buys advocacy for you. And I encourage everyone, if you can, to join as a member. You also can come to our board meeting. And if you don't want to be a member, you can just sign up for our mailing list, and you'll get all the news that you care to know about the registry issues in Georgia. So again, I want to thank everybody for joining us, and you can find this on our website, on our YouTube channel later next week. So thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you, Brendan. Good job.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Don't forget Fearless.
And Fearless next Thursday.